watching this video, there are a couple things you need to know. First, place value. Not only do you need to know place value to the left of the decimal point, your ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, but you also need to be familiar with place value to the right of your decimal point, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. You also need to be able to multiply multi-digit numbers. For example, you should be able to multiply 424 and 125. Now, if these concepts are brand new to you, that's okay. We have videos that will get you to this point. Feel free to watch any of the previous videos on place value and multiplication, and then return to this one. Now, if you've heard of these concepts before and you're somewhat familiar, let's give it a go. Welcome to Roxy's Revelations. I'm your host, Mrs. B. Today we're going to be looking at decimals, and we're going to talk about how to multiply decimals. But just to review, a decimal is a part of a whole. Take 72 hundredths, for example. 72 is our part, and 100 is our whole. We have 72 out of 100 of something. Now, what about 544 thousandths? Can you guess what the part is? If you said 544, you're correct. And what about the whole? The whole is 1,000. Decimals are all around us. We see decimals when we clock our mile time. We see decimals when we look and see how many ounces are on a jug of milk. We see decimals when we map the distance from our house to the skating rink. Today we're going to be multiplying decimals, and I have some great news. Multiplying decimals is just like multiplying whole numbers, numbers that you've been multiplying for years. The only difference is there's going to be a decimal point to separate our wholes from our parts. Let's look at a problem together. Read the problem to yourself as I read it aloud. 5 and 2/10 times 1 and 7/10. Now, multiplying decimals, just like multiplying whole numbers, is very different than adding and subtracting decimals. When we multiply decimals, we multiply as usual, but we take care of our decimal point at the end. Now, are you ready to multiply these decimals? Let's do it together. 7 times 2 is 14. We write the 4 and carry the 1. 7 times 5 is 35, plus 1 is 36. Now, we're done with our tenths place, so I'm going to put a placeholder here. I like to use an X. Some people use a 0 instead as a placeholder. The X tells me that that's my placeholder. I don't have to guess, if I had a 0 for instance, if I got a 0 from multiplying numbers. So I'm going to use an X, but feel free to use a 0 or an X. Now we're going to multiply our top number by our ones place in our bottom number. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 5, that's easy, that's 5. Now the next step in multiplying decimals, just like multiplying multi-digit numbers, is to add these numbers so we can get our product. Now when we say product, we mean the quantity or total when we multiply two numbers. So let's go ahead and add. 4 plus nothing is 4. 6 plus 2 is 8. And 3 plus 5 is 8. Now if I don't account for my decimals, that's saying that 5 and 2/10 times 1 and 7/10 is 884. Does that sound reasonable to you? If you said no, you're correct. This number is way too large. Let's estimate our product to see if it's reasonable. 5 and 2/10, that's about 5. And 1 and 7/10, that's almost 2. Now if I was to multiply 5 times 2, I would get 10. 884 is nowhere near 10. So let's account for our decimal points. Now when we account for our decimal points with multiplication, we count how many digits are behind each of our decimal points. So to the right of our decimal point in 5 2/10, we have one number. And to the right of our decimal point in 1 7/10, we have one number. That means that we're going to move our decimal point in our final answer 2 places to the left. Now, if you don't see a decimal point, that means that it's to the far right. If I place a decimal point right here to the far right, that doesn't change the value of 884. So let's now account for our decimals. We're going to move our decimal point 2 places to the left, 1, 2, and rewrite our final answer, 8 and 84 hundredths. Does that sound like a more reasonable answer? Well, let's look at our estimate. Our estimate was 10, and 8 and 84 hundredths is far closer to 10 than 884. So it looks like we're right. Great job. Let's do another problem together. Read the problem to yourself as I read it aloud, and remember to use place value as you read. 31 and 4/10 times 2 and 9/10. Now remember, because we're multiplying decimals, we're going to account for that decimal point at the very end. Are you ready to get started? Let's do it. 9 times 4 is 36. We write the 6. We carry the 3. 9 times 1 is 9. Plus 3 is 12. We write the 2 and carry the 1. 9 times 3 is 27. Plus 1 is 28. Now we're done with our tenths place, so we're going to write our placeholder. Again, I'm going to use an X. You can use a 0 or an X. And we're going to move on to our ones place. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 1 is 2. And 2 times 3 is 6. Now let's add these numbers so we can get our final product. 6 plus nothing is 6. 2 plus 8 is 10. We're going to carry our 1. 8 plus 2 is 10. Plus 1 is 11. And 2 plus 6 is 8. Plus 1 is 9. Now, are you ready to account for our decimal? We have one digit behind the decimal point in 31 and 4/10. And we have one digit behind the decimal point in 2 and 9/10. Can you guess how many times we're going to move our decimal point? If you said 2, you're correct. Remember, our decimal point is all the way over to the right now, because that doesn't change the value. Right now our answer is 9,106, but we're going to move it 2 times, so our answer is more reasonable. 1, 2. I'll rewrite our final product, and then we'll read it together. Are you ready? Let's do it. 91 and 6/100. Now, is that product reasonable? If you said yes, you're correct. 31 and 4/10, that's about 30. And 2 and 9/10, that's about 3. If we were to multiply 30 and 3, we would get 90. And 90 is very close to 91 and 6/100. Great job. Are you ready to try an even more challenging problem? If so, keep watching. If not, that's okay. Feel free to restart this video or watch any of the previous videos and then come back to this one. All right, here we go. Read the problem to yourself as I read it aloud. 78 and 6/100 times 12 and 5/10. Now we're going to do this problem together. You may have noticed this problem looks a little bit different than the last problem. The difference is we have 4 digits in our first number and 3 digits in our bottom number. But we're going to multiply as usual. Here we go. 5 times 6 is 30. Write the 0, carry the 3. 5 times 0 is 0, plus 3 is 3. I'm going to cross off my 3 so I know I've already used it. 5 times 8 is 40. We write the 0 and we carry our 4. 5 times 7 is 35, plus 4 is 39. Again, I'm going to cross out my 4 so I know I've already used it. Now we need a placeholder. We're done with our tens place and we're moving on to our ones place in our second number. 2 times 6 is 12. We carry the 1. 2 times 0 is 0. Plus 1 is 1. Cross out the 1 so you know it's already taken care of. 2 times 8 is 16. We write the 6. We carry the 1. 2 times 7 is 14. Plus 1 is 15. And cross out the 1 so you know we're done with it. Okay, now we're on to our third digit in the tens place. Whew! Now we need 2 placeholders. We need 1 placeholder for our tenths that we've already done, and we need another placeholder for the ones that we've already done, and now we can move on to our tens. 1 times 6 is 6. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 8 is 8. And 1 times 7 is 7. Now we're going to add all these digits together to find our final product. Here we go. 0 plus nothing is 0. 3 plus 2 plus nothing is 5. 0 plus 1 plus 6 is 7. 9 plus 6 plus 0 is 15. Carry the 1. 3 plus 5 is 8. Plus 8 is 16. Plus 1 is 17. We'll write the 7 and we'll carry the 1. 1 plus 7 is 8. Plus 1 is 9. Now, what's the last thing we need to do? If you said account for the decimals, you're right. We have 2 digits to the right of our decimal in 78 and 6/100. We have 1 digit to the right of our decimal in 12 and 5/10. So that's 1, 2, 3 times that we need to move our decimal to the left. Let's do it. Remember, our decimal point starts at the far right if we don't see it. So we need to move it to the left 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Let's rewrite our final product. I'm going to drop the 0 because we don't need it. It's not going to change our final product. Let's read our final product together. 975 and 75/100. Great job. You've made it to problem number 4. Congratulations. There's only one problem left, and then the bonus word problem with Roxy. Hang in there. We're almost done. Read the problem to yourself as I read it aloud. 85 and 10/100 hundredths times 46 and 37 hundredths. Great job. Go ahead and try this problem on your own. When you see the word pause appear on your screen, click pause and then resume the video when you've got your answer. Good luck. Are you ready to check your answer? Let's see how you did. You should have gotten 3,946 and 87 thousandths. If you did, great job. Feel free to move on to Roxy's word stories. If you didn't, that's okay. Let's do the problem together. 7 times 0 is 0. 7 times 1 is 7. 7 times 5 is 35. We'll write the 5, carry the 3. 7 times 8 is 56, plus 3 is 59. How are you doing so far? Now we need a placeholder. We're done with our hundredths place. We're moving on to our tenths place. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 5 is 15. Write the 5, carry the 1. 3 times 8 is 24, plus 1 is 25. I'm going to get rid of that 1 so I know I've already taken care of it. Now we need two placeholders. We're done with the hundredths and we're done with the tenths. So two placeholders. Now we can keep multiplying. 6 times 0 is 0. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 5 is 30. We'll write the 0 and carry the 3. 6 times 8 is 48, plus 3 is 51. Okay, are you ready? One last step. Here we go. We've done our two placeholders. Now we need to put three placeholders because we've taken care of our hundredths, our tenths, and our ones. 1, 2, 3. 4 times 0 is 0. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 5 is 20. We write the 0. We carry the 2. 4 times 8 is 32, plus 2 is 34. Okay, now it is time to add all of these numbers to get our final product. At last, we're almost there. 0 plus nothing is 0. 7 plus 0 plus nothing is 7. 5 plus 3 is 8. 9 plus 5 is 14. Plus 6 is 20. Write the 0, carry the 2. 5 plus 5 is 10. Plus 4 is 14. Plus 2 is 16. Write the 6, carry the 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. Plus 1 is 4. 5 plus 4 is 9. And 3 plus nothing, that's 3. Now, what's our last step? I'm exhausted. How about you? What's our last step? We need to account for our decimals. We have 1, 2 digits to the right of our decimal in our first number. And we have 1, 2 digits to the right of the decimal in our second number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, we're moving that decimal 4 times to the left. Let's place our decimal all the way to the right, and then let's move it 4 times to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's rewrite our final answer. Now, just like last time, I'm going to drop that last 0 because it's not going to affect the value of our final product. Let's read our final product together. 3,946 and 87 thousandths. Great job. It's now time for Roxy's word problem of the day, which we like to call Roxy's Word Stories. Let's read today's word story together. Roxy and her mom are baking cookies for Roxy's class. They need to make 1.5 batches of cookies, so there's enough for everyone in her class to have at least one cookie. According to the recipe, 16 ounces of chocolate chips are needed for one batch of cookies. How many ounces of chocolate chips will Roxy and her mom need? Welcome back. So how many ounces of chocolate chips do Roxy and her mom need? If you said 24 ounces, you're correct. Great job. There's 16 ounces per batch, and Roxy and her mom need to make 1.5 batches. If you didn't get 24, that's okay. Let's do the problem together. 5 times 6 is 30. Write the 0, carry the 3. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 3 is 8. Let's cross off that 3 so we know we're done with it. Now we need a placeholder because we're moving on from our tenths to our ones. 1 times 6 is 6, and 1 times 1, that's easy, that's 1. Now we're going to add our numbers so we can get our final product. 0 plus nothing is 0. 8 plus 6 is 14. We write the 4 and carry the 1, and 1 plus 1 is 2. Now, what's that last step we need to do? Oh yeah, account for our decimals. So in 16 ounces, there's no numbers to the right of our decimal. What about in 1 and 5/10? If you said 1, you're correct. There's one digit to the right of our decimal point. So we'll put our decimal point where it currently resides, and we'll move it to the left just once. We'll rewrite our final product, and in this case, it's ounces because we're talking about ounces of chocolate chips. Let's read our final product together. 24 ounces. Great job. I hope you've enjoyed our time together and feel even more comfortable with multiplying decimals. If multiplying decimals is still a little fuzzy for you, that's okay. Feel free to watch this video or any of the previous videos again to help clear things up. If you feel good about the work we've done today, congratulations, you're ready to move on. See you next time.